You know, I've talked about on numerous occasions, and I do apologize for the wind. It's nice out, but it is windy. But I talked on numerous occasions on why I, support Sudowrite. That's Sudowrite, Sudowrite, and why I also support Mobians.Ai. And the reason being is they're both very fun. If you could tolerate some of the issues they might have, some very fun AI sites, if you will. I mean, yeah, one, you have to, pay a certain amount of money to have a, for a subscription, depending on what you can afford, as well as you can have to, buy some credits as well, so that if your subscription runs out, you still have something there to utilize. Heck, you can even buy credits, and not have to do the subscription and go from there. So you have a choice either way. But to me, you combine both, depending on what you can afford, then you have a win-win, in my opinion. But I've always talked, about them, and I've talked about that there are some issues, and there are still issues, no doubt. I mean, some people that say they're part of the team that created it can come out and say that, well, that's not necessarily the reason, it's a glitch, and they might be right about that. But the truth is, I don't think it's really that much of a glitch, and if it is a glitch, it's a glitch of confusion, and that confusion is on the AI's part. And the reason I say that is because I think the AI, takes what somebody is probably asking for it to do, on the other side of the spectrum, if you will, and mixing it up with somebody else's ideas. Like sometimes I can ask for a certain story to be done a certain way, that may not be for everybody, and instead I'll get information on this author or that author, and I'm thinking, this sounds like, what I'm getting instead of what I asked for. This sounds like somebody else's, project. And it seems like somebody else's, I guess you could say, information that they want, and possibly they got what I wanted instead. So if there is a glitch, if there's a glitch in there, then it's a glitch of confusion, and they need to clear that up because it's still going on. I mean, there's numerous times, even today, where I'll go on there and I'll say, okay, I want this kind of specific, story with these things emphasized and all that in the parentheses, and instead I will get something completely different, like information like so-and-so was this author of this, and da-da-da, and I'm thinking, that's not what I asked for, and I'm thinking it's a and I think it's a glitch of confusion on their behalf, to where basically they're giving me somebody else's answers that another person wanted, and that other person is probably getting the answers I wanted, or at least getting what I wanted on their end. That's just my opinion. Again, people could say it's a glitch, and maybe it is, but it's more of a glitch of confusion, and that's something they need to work out. That's something they need to work out entirely. Now, on the other hand, there's Mobians.ai. That's Mobians.ai, kind of like Mobians.com, but instead of .com, it's .ai. So Mobians.ai. And they, when you compare the two, actually do give you what you ask for most of the time, or at least they try to. They try to give you what you ask for most of the time. Because, again, just like with any AI site, any AI site out there, they will tell you that if you want something to be focused on and really emphasized in your request, that you need to basically, put it in parentheses. The more emphasization, if you will, the more emphasizing through the parentheses, the more you'll likely get what you're looking for. And most of the time it does work. Now, are there some issues sometimes to where you won't totally get what you're asking for? Absolutely. You could say, I want so-and-so wrapped up in the American flag with fireworks going off, behind them and everything, and posing, very risque. And it will give you something to that extent. It won't give it to you entirely the way you want, but it will give you something to the extent. And that's where the whole emphasizing through parentheses comes in, to where you have to basically emphasize, hey, this is what I want to see. And most of the time, it will try to give you that. I will give it credit. And the person behind it is trying their best, along with their team, to make this a lot better. And if you have a Discord, through your Discord or through the Discord that you join on, on the behalf of Mobians.ai, then you're bound to get some more additional features, or at least you're bound to get more, I guess you could say caveats, if you will. Maybe not as much as the hyping up, but you'll still get them. You'll still get them. Now, is it all perfect? No, it's not all perfect, and I'll tell you why. The reason being is, for some odd reason, and I don't know if it's just my laptop or my computer or anybody else has had this issue, but it seems that when you go and when you go onto the site, through your laptop, no matter how new it is, how old it is, whether it's recent, whether it's a decade old, whether it's only a few years old or whatever. I don't know if this has happened to you, but it's happened to me, to where when I go on Mobians.ai, for some reason it's loading. For some reason my computer starts loading. Like, I'll go to Sudowrite and it'll load, but it won't load too much, and it'll just finally calm down. And the same, and it does the same here, but it just keeps loading a lot longer. It's like something is not, connecting quickly, or something is not loading properly in the background or something. Anyway, there have been numerous times, even recently, to where I'll be on the site, via my laptop, computer, if you will, and after kind of putting in a few requests and getting some results here and there, and so on, and maybe downloading those results because I like the fact that, hey, they came out somewhat the way I asked, all of a sudden it'll go, it'll crash. It'll just go like that, and all of a sudden you get a message of, ah, snap, something disconnected or whatever. And then you have to refresh. And then here's what's even more interesting. If, let's say, your laptop decides, for some odd reason, oh, I got to do some updates in the background, even though you pause the updates for as long as you want to pause them. Let's say it wants to do that, or let's say it wants to do a virus scan, if you will, virus detection update, whatever it does. Normally, it will slow down, your activity on the computer, because for some odd reason they don't want to put up a notification to tell you, hey, we're doing this, right now, please stay off your computer till we're done. Even though it might slow down your computer, you're still able to go onto certain sites, even if they have, trouble loading up the images, because obviously that's a primary focus when they do these updates, or, virus scans or whatever. But what's interesting, and what makes this hard for anybody to have, on their computer, on the laptop, is when your computer or laptop decides to do that while you're on something like Mobians.ai, all of a sudden Mobians.ai, and along with it, will start acting up. It'll start acting up and everything, to the point that, the browser, I don't know what browser you use, I use Google Chrome, your browser will go into not responding mode, because it's loading, and then all of a sudden it'll just go into black screen, come back on after a bit, and then just keep loading and loading until finally it just decides, okay, you can click off, and there you go. And what's interesting about this is, one of the things that I can see through one of the things I can see through my browser, through using the Google Chrome browser, is obviously the cloud storage, like how much is being taken out, or used up, I should say, through cloud storage or laptop storage or whatever. And going on Mobians.ai takes up to a gig. This is what I saw today. It takes up a gigabyte. A gigabyte worth of storage, cloud storage or whatever. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense to me. That shouldn't do that, right? So that's an issue, in my opinion, that they need to address. Like, they need to make it, they need to make it a lot, hold on for a sec. They need to make it less, they need to make it less stressful for your laptop or your computer when it comes to you utilizing that site, to the point that your computer, your laptop will not crash. It will not say, oh snap, or will not kind of temporarily freeze up, because it's loading, and it's the heft, if you will. It's the heft of the site that's hurting it. They need to address that. They need to address that right away. They need to take care of that right away, because even though they do give you what you ask for most of the time, or at least they try to, what holds them back is they load. It's the loading is what it does. It's the loading, and sometimes it doesn't help when maybe your laptop or your computer starts loading on its own, even though you may have paused updates or whatever. Because these kind of sites shouldn't have to do that. They shouldn't have to result in doing that. Instead, they should just be like, okay, he's loading something, let's just let him load it, be quick about it, be done, whatever. But they don't do that, and that's what hurts it. I know that sounds a little convoluted and confusing, but it's true. It hurts it. But what's crazy about this too is when you go on your phone, or maybe even your tablet, or whatever you use, which is it's an iPad, whether it's a Samsung tablet, whether it's a Kindle, whatever. What's crazy about this is when you go on those, maybe even a Microsoft Surface, or a Chromebook. What's crazy about this is when you go on those, mostly like I said, the phones and the tablets and the Surfaces, maybe, it seems that it doesn't do it that way. It doesn't crash. It doesn't say, snap, we ran into an error, or it doesn't cause your computer to constantly load because it's got to check for viruses and all that. It's just, it's right there. You tell it what you want, and it gives you what you want. So obviously that's an issue that needs to, in my opinion, needs to be addressed. So if I was to make a comparison when it comes to Sudowrite, the one thing Sudowrite doesn't do is it doesn't do the snap kind of deal or anything. I mean, yeah, it causes your computer to load it and everything, because obviously it's checking for viruses, or it's storing up cookies and whatever. But the point is, at least it doesn't cause the page to crash where it says snap. Mobians.ai does. And it's an issue they need to address when they know people are going to mostly use it via computer or laptop. And they need to address the fact that they shouldn't have it cause people's computers and laptops to have to basically stress out with the loading. It should just be quick, easy, and to the point. Less, no stress, no nothing. So they need to look at that. They need to look into that and improve on that as soon as possible. Because sooner or later, people are going to be like, hey, we're getting sick and tired of this. We use our computer or our laptop more so than, anything to access this site. So please address this issue. Take care of it. And, hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. The other thing too, that both have an issue with, but, I will put a little favoritism towards Mobians.ai, is, the loading of your request. Sometimes with Sudowrite, once you tell it what you want story-wise, it may take a few seconds, but then all of a sudden, or a few moments, few seconds, and then all of a sudden it'll give you what you want. Maybe not specifically what you're asking for, but it'll give you what you want, as a result. I'm trying to find the right words to say. As a result. So it'll give you what you want. It'll give you what you want, somewhat as a result, after a few moments, few minutes. But then there are times to where all of a sudden you're trying to get what you want. You'll basically go into the first draft portion of it. You'll put in what you want. You'll click go after you've set the tone and everything. But then all of a sudden it doesn't go automatically or after a few moments. It just stays there and spins and spins, and it's like, what's going on? Why is it taking so long to load? And then all of a sudden you have to refresh it, and then after refreshing it, most of the time you will get what you want. But then going back to what I said earlier, sometimes it will screw up on that by giving you something completely different. So that's one issue Sudowrite needs to look into. They need to look into the fact that when you're when you have people utilizing your product, and they're using the first draft thing to give the AI system an idea of what they want, they shouldn't have to wait too long for it to come up. It should just be like, okay, you want this? Let me think about it. Okay, a few moments later, bam, done. Give them kind of what they're looking for to an extent. Kind of give them what they're looking for to an extent. Not wait on it, full throttle. Not wait on it full throttle to the point that you can go to the store, get something to eat, or go to a store, go to a fast food place, get something to eat, come back, and it's still loading. They shouldn't have to wait on that. They shouldn't have to be, they shouldn't have to wait full throttle, if you will, for it to, go through. It should be automatic, It should be automatic. It should be like that. I don't know why I said full throttle, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. So yeah, they need to take care of that. They need to address that. And the reason I bring that up in comparison to Mobians.ai is due to the fact that Mobians.ai, they may make you wait, and they might show you when they say generating queue and all that, or generating images, whatever, they might show you the number, and the number might be like over a minute or maybe 2 minutes, but at least they're letting you know, hey, it's going to take this long for your image to come up. But at least most of the time, with a few exceptions here and there, your image will come up. I mean, the few instances though where that kind of, is an issue is when it doesn't automatically give you the cue, it's just like generating and all that, or when it does give you the cue and it's counting down, all of a sudden the countdown stops. So there are issues there that need to be addressed as well. So if they can get that down to where you don't have to wait too long, and it looks like they are trying to do that, especially if, depending on what time of day it is, because it shouldn't depend on that, what time of day. If they can get that down to you only have to wait a minute at most, then they'll be on the right path to really getting this off the ground and getting people to get behind it. But overall though, when I compare the two, they're both good, they're both good AI services. But just like AI, even in Hollywood as we speak of today, AI still has, they, like AI of Hollywood, because a lot of studios are using it, these AIs still have a lot to, learn. These AIs still have a lot to be built upon, to be, perfect. So I'm not saying they're not good in their state right now, but these are issues that, like I said, on both ends of the spectrum, they need to address. They need to address it. Sudowrite, they need to address, the getting the confusing glitch of getting people's requests of what they want mixed up with others. They need to ensure that people basically, won't have to refresh, once in a while, the page, because the loading of what they're asking for, the request they're asking for, is not coming up, and it's taking too long to the point that you could leave, do something else, come back, and it's still loading. They shouldn't have to deal with that. So that's one. So again, those are issues right there that they need to address, as well as they need to also address getting put onto phones. They need to get an app to where you can access Sudowrite on a phone and not just have to utilize a tablet or anything else. They need to make sure they get an app, out there, so that people with phones and tablets or whatever can utilize it, can just click on it and go from there. And then when they go online on the computer, it'll pick up where they left off, or at least acknowledge, hey, this is what you did, outside of this. You know what I'm saying? So those are three things they need to look into. In Mobians.ai, again, they give you what you want. And going back to Sudowrite, that's another thing too. They need to make sure that, when people are asking specifically of wanting a certain thing in whatever they're asking for in the first draft or whatever, they need to ensure that that AI, even when people parenthesize and emphasize, parenthesize and emphasize what they want, they need to make sure the AI gives them exactly what they're asking for. And that's it. So those are four things, actually. Those are four things, okay? Let's ensure nobody has to refresh because of load. Get rid of the confusing glitch, if you will. you know, get an app going and everything, you know, do that, you know, and just, you know, just do the various improvements. Like I said, you know, just do these various improvements. Less confusing glitch, if you will. Make sure you get an app and everything, you know, make sure of that. Make sure the loading doesn't have to be refreshed all the time, among other things as well, and you should be good to go. You know, and make sure as well as you give people what they're asking for when they emphasize what they want, and don't just skirt around it. Just say like, okay, they want that, fine, we'll give it to them. You know, those are the 4 things. Those are the 4 things. App, make sure the load time, make sure people don't have to refresh because the loading takes too long. Less confusing glitches, and ensure that when people emphasize what they want in a story, you know, you give it to them. You know, no matter what the circumstance. And then on the other hand, when we look at Mobians.ai, you know, again, just like with Sudowrite, when people emphasize what they want, ensure that you give them exactly what they're emphasizing. I mean, don't rely on them to always put parentheses after parentheses after parentheses on parentheses, you know, to ensure they get what they want. Make sure when they parentheses it once or twice, they get what they're looking for. That's one thing. 2, make sure that the glitch of, you know, of the fact that it will crash, of its crashing after people have been on it for a while, whether it's causing the computer to load because it's checking for viruses or whatever, or the images. Make sure that's taken care of, because most of the people that use that site or a site like it use it on the computer. You know, they look it up on the computer and laptop. So make sure that crashing glitch is taken care of. Once that's taken care of, you should be good. You should be golden. You should be fine. Secondly, go into what I just said. You know, during that, make sure the page doesn't cause somebody's computer, you know, whether it's recently new or not so new or whatever. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that the page does not cause that computer to go crazy and you get complaints of, hey, it almost caused my computer to crash, or it caused my browser to blank out and all that. Make sure those situations are taken care of, no matter what kind of browser people use, whether it's Firefox, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Opera. You know, make sure that's an issue that's taken care of right away. And if there are certain browsers that can't be utilized on, then list them. So that way people don't have to just rely on their phones and tablets, you know, to go on this site and utilize it. You know, so that's another thing. That's the other thing too. So those are 3 things. So those are 3 things compared to the 4, you know, from Sudowrite. Okay. When it comes to Mobians.ai, make sure it doesn't cause somebody's computer or laptop to, you know, go cuckoo, and you get complaints about that. You know, make sure it's, you know, is workable on a lot of browsers, and if not, list the browsers it doesn't work on. Okay. 2, make sure you give people what they're asking for when they emphasize it and everything. You know, make sure that if they only have to put 2 parentheses on each side, that you give them exactly what they're asking for on that, if not just 1. And then 3, clear up the crashing of the page on the browsers. Make sure that nobody ever sees another snap kind of situation. Ensure that they have a smooth ride and that they don't have to worry about any loading. They don't have to worry about any, you know, they don't have to worry about any loading. They don't have to worry about any crashes, you know, and all that. They don't have to worry about the computer going cuckoo because, you know, oh, it's got to load and it's causing this to activate and all that. No, make sure everything is on the up and up, you know. So that's really all they have to do is those 3 things. So if we compare the 2, believe it or not, Mobians.ai is actually more accurate and more usable, you know, when it comes to what people want, than in Sudowrite. I mean, Sudowrite's good. The only thing that Mobians.ai has over it is people could use it on their phone. Sudowrite doesn't have that, and they need that. It shouldn't be just resulting to, it shouldn't just be, you know, what limited, that's the word I'm looking for. It shouldn't be just limited to computers and laptops and tablets and Kindles. It should be utilized everywhere. It should be given the opportunity to be utilized everywhere. So they need to look into that. They need to look into that. And, you know, again, they need to make sure there's no confusing glitch where it gets other people's requests and stuff confused with others. And two, they gotta make, and three, they gotta make sure that the loading time doesn't have to be refreshed. It doesn't take too long to give people what they're asking for. You know, so that stuff, so those three things, along with the other thing I mentioned, are the ones they need to work on. But let me know what your thoughts are. When you compare these two sites, do you think I am right in the fact that Mobians.ai does kind of win out just a bit over Sudowrite? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And any of you that do work on any one of these apps, I would love to hear back from you guys. But let me know. And until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later. If you don't see this get uploaded today on Father's Day, then it's going to be uploaded next. It'll be premiering next week as part of my uploading of videos during my mom's summer break to at least give you guys some content. But until next time, guys, I am out.